What up, comrades? All right, so we're on volume 5 of Fairy Tale, and I made a mistake in my review of or storytelling of volume 4. I kept calling Gray's rival, Ice Mage, Janice. I don't know why that came into my mind, but it's Leon, and we get to that here. So we pick up right when Lucy's setting up her grand scheme to beat the wizards, and she's having a huge argument with the elder of the village because he doesn't want to leave the village. He wants to destroy the moon because the moon destroyed his son, and he needs revenge. And then Virgo comes along, and she's like, "All right, princess, I finished it." And Lucy's like, "My trap is perfect." And everyone points out that is a terrible trap. It's just it's like a floor trap. Like there's just if they step on this specific spot right in front of the gate, they will fall and be damaged. And then the gate guard's like, "Hey, someone's coming!" So they open the gate, and it's Natsu carrying Gray. And Lucy, everyone starts freaking out. It's like, "No, Natsu, stop, stop, stop!" And he doesn't. So then he collapses into the thing. He's like, "Hey, who pulled this funny trick on me?" But the ice shattered, so that's good. Virgo points out that because they're so far away from the wizard who cast the ice spell on him, that's probably why it was able to shatter because it's not as strong once he's gone. Gray's still knocked out. Natsu's fine. Lucy happy. Everyone's good. And then someone points out in the sky, and we see the giant rat who's flying with her tail, and she's carrying a giant bucket. Up in that bucket is our 3 wizard friends, and they have 2 times poison jelly in there, and they're going to use it to destroy the village. So everyone's going to meet their death. A little bit drips out, and Natsu jumps and saves Lucy just in time as it completely decimates the ground underneath her. And then one of the guys, the unibrow guy, is like, "Oh, these people are hideous. I can't believe the moon's doing to them." And at that point, the rat throws the poison jelly down on everybody. Natsu orders everyone to gather in the center of the village, and he leaps up, uses his fire magic to explode a hole in the jelly that's falling. Which destroys the whole village but saves all the people. And so then there's a little crater. There's a reverse crater. There's a little island in the Sea of Death where all the where Lucy and everybody are fine. And the elder didn't want to leave his son's grave, but Virgo went and got him, so that's good. The 3 wizards then show up and get ready to fight Natsu and Lucy. They chit-chat back and forth, and then the villagers all take off, and then the female wizard lady, she gets real pissed off because she needs to kill everybody for Reiki-sama, who's Leon, not Janice. And so she jumps on her rat, and the rat flies off and flies right into Natsu and Lucy. And Lucy grabs onto the rat's foot while Natsu stays behind and fights the other 2. So Lucy's banging on the rat, trying to get her to stop. And then she's like, "Oh, I have a better idea." So she tickles the rat, and the rat loses focus and stops twirling her tail. So they both go crashing into the ground. Happy goes to check out what's going on there, and Natsu begins his battle with the other 2 mages. He immediately flies and knocks the cat face guy in the face, knocking him almost completely out, while the other wizard just stands there and is like, "I'm fine." We then find out their names. So everyone here. So Reke or Leon, the cat guy's name is Toby. The unibrow guy, he's not really a unibrow, but he's got really thick eyebrows, is Yuka. And then we shortly learn that the girl is named Sherry. They all are former members of the Lamia Scale Guild, which is a guild Natsu has not heard of and does not care about, as usual. So he starts fighting them, and then we find out that Yuka has his power is to eliminate magic. He can send this burst of energy, like a wave that eliminates magic. And so Natsu's about to hit him with fire, and then the guy casts it, and then Natsu's dodging around, avoiding his attacks. And then at some point, he decides that he's going to go punch this guy in the face. So he goes to punch him, and as he punches through the guy's anti-magic shield, he's like, "Oh, it hurts so bad." And the guy's like, "There's nothing you can do about it." And then Natsu's like, "There's one thing I can do, put my whole body in it." So he starts pushing himself through the magical wall, and the guy's like, "Holy cow, you're crazy." And the cat guy's like, "You're insane, Toby." And then Natsu's and the guy's like, "You can't use any magic in here. What do you think you're going to do?" And Natsu's like, "No magic in here, huh?" And so then he casts fire magic out of his elbow to give it a super burst. And because of that, he's able to break through the barrier with his fist and just smash the shit out of Yuka, knocking him out cold. Then the other guy's like, "Oh, you took out Yuka. That's good. I'm even more powerful than him." And he explains that he has these claws with poison. They got mega jellyfish poison. And so the guy leaps at him and tries to fight him, and Natsu dodges out of the way. And then he's like, "Wait a second, you got something right here on your head." And he pokes his fingers at his head. And so then the guy pokes himself with his own attack and is like, "No!" And then he passes out because he poisoned himself. And Natsu's like, "Got it." Meanwhile, Lucy is waking up And the rat lady's like completely passed out, and Sherry, we get her name eventually here. She is freaking out and she's crying about destroying the rat and how the rat named Angelica and how mad she is and I'll never forgive you. And then she summons like a tree as a wooden doll. So Lucy goes ahead and summons Taurus, who's a big horse or a big cowman with an axe, and he just cuts that in half. And then Sherry's like, oh, my power is a doll power. So when you summon, I'm super good against celestial wizards because I can control them. So she starts to control Taurus and orders Taurus to kill her, and pretty much she can control anything that's not human. And since social spirits aren't human, that's the case. And so then they're like, Sherry's like talking about how she's going to kill her and then do all this other stuff and whatnot. And then Lucy does. So when you're closing gates, there has to be an agreement. And since the cow man is like not under his own volition, he's not going to agree to like close the gate. But Lucy is so powerful that we discover she's so powerful that she's able to close the gate even without his permission, which is like a super big thing. They call it a forced closure. And she's like, holy cow, I can't believe I did that. That's great. And then we get some more talk of about, and Lucy pulls out her whip, and she's looking super fine, but she's in Fairy Tale, and she's going to take care of things. Meanwhile, Rete-sama, not Reke, I apologize, is having a conversation with some asshole, the head like priest, about why he didn't kill Gray, and the guy's like, I don't like to kill people, and he's like, oh, I don't know about that. Yada yada, and this like head priest guy's clearly got his own motivations, and he's pretty evil. So we'll get more of that later, I'm sure. All right, so back to the Lucy fight. We get a nice shot of them. Hold up. All right, so then Lucy's like, I got a plan for you, and she summons Plue, the little guy with the cone nose, the little white guy, and so Sherry takes him over, and then Lucy's able to whip her with that because she got distracted doing this other thing. She's like, all right, enough playing around. She summons like a giant rock golem, and so Lucy starts running away because she's like, oh shit, I don't know if I have anybody that could fight a rock golem. And she gets to the water, and then she gets the idea. She's like, oh yeah, fucking Aquarius is insane. That's what I'm gonna do. So she summons Aquarius. Aquarius comes out, and she's like, destroy that woman. And Aquarius is like, you make me. This is why you don't have a boyfriend. And then Sherry takes her over, and so Aquarius and then orders Aquarius to destroy Lucy, but Aquarius, she destroys everybody. So Sherry and Lucy get thrown into the water, and then Aquarius is like, I close my gates all the time by myself. I do whatever I want, idiots. And then she like, baka, and then she nopes out. And so then the rock golem's still there, but Lucy and Sherry are so dizzy that Sherry can't control the rock golem. So they're going back and forth, and then they start pitter-patting each other in the face, and then Lucy does like a huge haymaker and knocks her the fuck out, and is like, aha, I did it. And then the rock golem collapses. At that point, Lucy looks up and sees the rat lady like leap high into the air, and it's coming down to crash on Lucy, when guess who shows up? Dun dun dun, Urza. And she just like beats the shit out of the mouse, and Lucy's like, hooray. And then Urza gives her this death stare, and Lucy's like, my bad. And she gets on her knees to like beg forgiveness, and then Happy's flying over and sees Urza, and he's like, rope, and he tries to fly away, but then Urza grabs him too. And they have like a conversation back and forth about coming to help these people and doing everything. Urza's like, I don't give a fuck about these people. You're going to be punished. The next day, Gray wakes up, and he's in like this strange tent, and this woman comes in and explains that the village was destroyed, so they came to this supply area where they hide supplies, and that Lucy and Happy are looking for him in this tent. And as he walks in, Urza's standing there looking pissed, and Lucy and Happy are both tied up on the ground. So they go back and forth about what's going to happen and what they're going to do, and Gray's trying to explain his side of the situation, but Urza doesn't want to hear anything about it. And she's like, we need to find Natsu. Where's Natsu? And where's Natsu? He overslept, and then he went back to the ruins. And he's like, I'm going to get this thing started. Back with Urza and Gray. Gray shows his determination by grabbing Urza's sword as she's holding it up to like strike him because he's being disobedient and he's not going to accept punishment. And he's like, I'm going to do this. Like, you got to do what you got to do. And then he like cuts his hand on her sword and then wanders off. And then so she cuts Lucy and Happy out, and she's like, let's go. You guys will get punished later. And they're like, oh. Meanwhile, back with the bad guys, Leon is chiding Toby, and he's like, yeah, I'm the one who survived. Everyone else got defeated. Please don't tell me when I defeated myself. And we find out the name of this douchebag priest guy is Zalti, and that he's got, he's really excited to get Deloria, or Del Iora back up, and that he has some like ancient magic, so he's going to be able to help fight some lost magic is what he calls it. And then there's an earthquake, and the whole thing like tips over on its side, and it tips over on its side because Natsu went underneath and destroyed all the pillars on one side, so that the moonlight could not get down to Del Eora. The bad guys kind of figure this out, but also Natsu at the same time bursts through the ground up and like shatters an ice statue of Leon, and then they start fighting. They're doing like ice and fire magic back and forth and back and forth, and Natsu's like dodging, and they have like a little tiny bit of like a shonen fight. And then Zalti does something, and Natsu falls into the ground. And at that point, Leon's like, Zalti, what did you do? And he's like, no, you did it, my lord. And he's like, I don't trust this motherfucker. So then he creates like an ice prison area for him to fight Natsu, and Natsu comes bursting back up. Meanwhile, Gray is leading Happy and Lucy and Urza on a chase to the shrine so they can help out. Natsu and Leon go back and forth, and they're fighting, and talking about how there's no reason to wake up Del Eora, and Leon's being kind of an asshole about the whole situation. At that point, we go head back to Gray, who then kind of tells us about his past. He mentions that is still alive, not I fucked up on that last one, but and so he's like 10 years ago, his whole village got destroyed by Del Eora, and that the wizard and her apprentice Leon found him and rescued him, and then took him to the north where they taught him ice magic. And this is where he learned how to be naked, because you have to become one with the snow and the ice. And so she gets naked, Leon gets naked, and then eventually Gray gets naked, and they keep getting naked. And then we just get like a kind of like a montage of her just training them and doing all this fun stuff, and her being so happy that she's got 2 cute apprentices. And then she's at like some store market, and this other like old lady is like, ooh, they're so cute, remember, you for sure should send one over to me when you finish up with them. And then says something about how she needs to make herself happy. Meanwhile, we get a little conversation between little Leon and little Gray in the past, and how Leon's whole objective is to beat and become more powerful, and Gray's is to kill Del Eora and get revenge. And this is where his like nakedness thing begins, because he's like naked, and she's like, why are your clothes off? We're not training. And he's like, it's your fault. Anyway, at the marketplace, there are also some old men talking about how Del Eora is at this like nearby area. And then Gray he's like, I'm leaving. I'm going to go take care of this. You didn't teach me enough good magic. All you taught me was shitty like ice maker magic. And then she's like, At that point, in the present, they reach the turned over shrine. And then they get accosted by a bunch of these like priests. And so Urza's like, I'll take care of this. You guys go ahead. And then Urza's like, Gray, go finish this thing with Leon. Tell him the truth. So then we go back to the past, and we see Del Eora fighting with while Leon and Gray are like knocked unconscious. And she's like getting ready to she's like protecting them and doing stuff. And she's like, you need to get Leon and get out of here, because I'm going to take care of this. And he's like chiding himself for being there and all this stuff. And she thinks about how she's so happy because she was able to train these 2 idiots. And that, this is what she really wanted. At this point, we see that her leg is made of ice because she lost her leg. And so she used the maker magic to make her leg ice. So it's nothing to worry about. That's why having maker magic is so wonderful, because even though she lost her leg in this battle, it's fine, right? So she again orders them to go, and then we go back to the present where Natsu is still fighting Leon, and they're going back and forth, and there's like a crack in the wall. Back in the past, Leon kind of wakes up from his like being knocked out, and he gets into a huge argument with and she mentions like, you're gonna find other wizards who are more powerful than me, and he loses it because he's like, no, yeah, I need the most powerful wizard. If you're not the most powerful, what's the deal? And then he does his stance, and she's like, what are you doing? Stop that. And it's this forbidden spell or something called Ice Shell. I don't know if it's forbidden or not, but what Ice Shell does that Leon doesn't realize, because he like read it in a book but didn't finish reading the book, is that it turns you into an ice cage that is it's impenetrable. You live forever as like this ice cage though, and it kind of like is the end of your life. And so Leon doesn't realize that, so he's about to do that, but then knocks him out and tells Gray to, oh no, she freezes him in non-ice shell, and then she casts ice shell on Del Eora, and she orders Gray to tell Leon that she died, so he doesn't try to melt the ice or anything. And that he can't melt the ice because then her sacrifice will mean nothing. And then she tells him to go forward and be happy and grow and make friends and do all the the normal shonen anime stuff. And then she seals him in darkness. And then when Leon wakes up, he's screaming at Gray, and Gray tells him that he's dead. And then Leon's like, you murdered her. It's your fault. You're the murderer. And at this point, we go back to the present, and it's Gray who's breaking through the ice barrier. And he's like, Natsu, this is my battle. I'm going to take care of this. And then he takes the same stance for the ice shell. And Leon's like, oh shit. And then they're like, Leon and Gray go back and forth about the demon, about Ice Shell. He's not really going to cast it. He's really going to cast it. And he starts to cast it. And he starts to turn it to ice. And he's like screaming. And Leon's like, you don't have the courage. You're a coward, blah, blah, blah. And then Natsu knocks him in the head. He's like, you're an idiot. This is my fight. I never said you could take it over. You asked if I could have the final battle. And I said no. And so they get in an argument about that, and he says, killing yourself is just running away. We then get a shot of Lucy and Urza, who have defeated all the priests, and then look up, and what happens is it looks like Zalti realigned the whole like mountain shrine area, because now it's back to being straight up and down. And then Natsu gets super pissed because it ruined all his plans, and so he's like, all right, you've already, like, if you lose again against this guy, you're disgracing. And then sorry. He says, you were disgraced last time because you lost this guy. You got to win this time, so you're not. And then Gray's like, I know. And then Natsu's like, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about you disgrace the name of Fairy Tail. So good. And then he like heads out to fight this Zalti guy. And then Gray tries to talk Leon down. He finally tells him that she's still alive, that she's the ice, that she did this whole thing and all this stuff. And then Leon like walks up to him very slowly and then stabs him right in the stomach with a sword. And he's like, I already knew, you idiot. But that ice has long ceased to be Erd. Now it's just frozen wastewater. Dun, dun, dun. And that wraps up Volume 5. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys later.